Hello and welcome to Machine Embroider Your Life from American Quilter Society and Eversewn. We're making machine embroidery projects on the Eversewn Sparrow X. And this time, we're making embroidered towels. Let's get started. We're going to need a few supplies. We have pre-made terrycloth towels, a few different stabilizers. I have water-soluble topping, medium weight tearaway and medium weight cutaway, a regular piece of paper, my 120 by 180 hoop, some craft spray based, some machine embroidery thread, scissors, pins, pencil, seam ripper, and of course my Eversewn Pro app loaded on a smart device. To begin, we need to make ourselves a placement guide. To do that, I'm going to hoop just a bit of scrap paper. You could use some medium weight tearaway if you wanted to, or even some scrap fabric, but plain old paper will work just fine for this. So I'm just placing it in my hoop. Not too worried about any placement. And with that hooped, I'm just going to put it in my machine and then we'll move to our smart device and start the design process. I've opened my Eversewn Pro app. Today I'm using some monogram patterns that I purchased. So to begin, I'm going to open the Patterns tab and then select my design. In my design, I have all of the different elements of the monogram and we're going to get to building it. So let's start with the E for Emily. I'm going to send that over to the editing page and I'm going to give it a quick rotation. This is going to help me get everything to fit. And once I get it set, I'm going to move it down and add the next one. Everything always comes in at the center, so it's good to move things out of the center. Get the R going. Same thing, we can make it spin around and come up there. Hitting the Patterns tab again. Adding the C now. All right, and now I'm going to start basing where all of my other letters are based on the C in the center. So as I start getting things aligned, I can come into that bottom sliding area and click the Move tab, move it back to the center, and then use the arrow keys to move it 10 centimeters at a time. And by doing that, I'm able to move it in a very uniform fashion. And this is just going to help me as I'm working with multiple elements. I've jumped us ahead a little bit to where I've got the letters all arranged like I want, and I'm going to finally add one last element, a circle all the way around the monogram. And I've got it here. And because it's so large and it goes over everything, it makes it so I can't edit the other things under it, like the R and the E are inside of it, and so I actually wouldn't be able to edit it. I like to put the frame on last, and here I shrink it just a little bit, go over to the Move tab, get it centered, moved over just like I want. And once I have that set, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I've got my basting on, and here I do. There it's off, there it's on. And now I can send it to my machine and we'll start making our placement guide. We're going to have it start stitching the design, but we don't need it to do the entire design, just that basting stitch to get us started. So I'm going to go ahead and start stitching. With the basting stitch completed, we can remove the hoop and finish our placement guide. We're going to trace around the inside of our hoop to make the placement guide. So I'm tracing with a pencil. And then I like to put a little X down here where the clamp is. That way it helps me keep track of it later whenever I am placing it on my towel. So I can take it out of the hoop, move my hoop out of the way, and using some paper scissors, I'm just going to cut out around that outline. Now that we've made our placement guide, we're going to get our design centered on a towel. As you can see here, looking at the examples, you want it about an inch above the band, based on your own preference though, but perfectly centered in the towel so that as you hang it, it's not going to be off to one side or the other. So to do that, we're going to be taking our placement guide. You're going to take the bottom edge of that basting stitch we took, and here you can see it's perforated on mine. And we're going to fold that up and out of the way. That gives us a bottom from which to work. I have measured 1 inch up from the band on my towel, and I have my ruler centered on the towel so that the 6-inch mark is my center point for the towel. And I'm going to do one more fold on my placement guide. So I'm taking the long ends together and folding in half. That's going to show me my long center, so that as I take that crease and put it along that 6-inch mark, just the center of my towel, and then the bottom edge I can put right up against the ruler, and that's going to give me a perfect placement using my placement guide. Then I can come in with a few pins and secure the placement guide. I want to make sure it's secure enough that it won't wiggle, but I don't really need to like overpin it or anything. When you hoop a thick towel like this one, you take cutaway stabilizer and you hoop just the stabilizer first. With the stabilizer hooped, I'm going to take some craft spray adhesive and I'm going to do a little bit of a blast just in the center, not getting on my hoop. Usually you want to spray away from your machine in a well-ventilated area. So just a little spray. And then you can take your towel, lift it up, and using that placement guide and your hands to feel for the edges of your inner hoop, you will align it and press it into that spray adhesive. With the towel in the hoop, I can take my placement guide off, and I'm going to want to put our water-soluble topping over the towel. This is going to keep the terry cloth from bunching up underneath all the stitching we're going to do. It just helps us get a really neat, tidy effect. So I'm placing that over the towel. Everything's floating at this point. So I'm going to bring in a few pins and pin just around that outer perimeter to make sure everything's really secure. For a thinner towel, you're going to remove your inner hoop from the outer hoop, take some medium weight tearaway stabilizer, place that over the outer hoop. Then you're going to take your towel and place that over the tearaway stabilizer. At this point, I like to bring in my inner hoop and I place it right over the guide. And then with one hand on my stabilizer and the other hand on my towel, I'm able to scoot everything around until it lines up, and I can press everything into the hoop. And see, my placement guide is still totally to the inside of my hoop, and everything is clamped in. With the towel in the hoop, you can then take your water-soluble topper and float it over the hoop, the same as we did with the thick towel. Just place a few pins around that outer edge. Once that's done, you can install it in the machine and we'll get to stitching. We're all done stitching out. You can take the pins from the topper out of there. And then to take out that basting stitch, I like to flip to the back and pull it from there just because it's a little hard to use your seam ripper on that topper. With the basting seam all torn out, you can start to tear away the stabilizer. And then on the front, you can tear away the topper. With the topper, because it's water soluble, you'll want to get most of it, but any bit that's left, you can simply use a little bit of water to dissolve. And now you have a beautiful embroidered towel. I've had so much fun making this project with you. Stick around to hear more about the Eversewn Sparrow X. A special thanks to our sponsor, Eversewn. I'm having so much fun making projects with my Eversewn Sparrow X. If you'd like to get to know the machine a little better, you can download the Eversewn Pro app right now. You can find it in the App Store or Google Play Store. And to learn more about the machine, check out the link in the description below for a walkthrough video. Thanks for watching.